God is covering your home, your family, and your future, not as a distant hope or a fragile promise, but as a living reality that exists now, waiting only for your acceptance. The moment you allow this truth to take root within you, the world you see begins to rearrange itself in quiet and unmistakable ways. Protection is not something you must beg for or chase after. It is not earned through struggle or secured through fear. It is a state of being, and that state is born within consciousness itself. When you assume safety, safety expresses. When you assume divine order manifests. Your home becomes more than walls and a roof. It becomes an atmosphere shaped by the convictions you hold when no one else is watching. You may have been taught to believe that danger is natural and peace is temporary, that stability must constantly be defended, and that tomorrow carries more threats than promises. Yet this belief has never served you. It has only trained you to expect interruption and loss. The truth is far simpler and far more powerful. What you consistently feel to be true becomes the law of your experience. If you feel that your home is watched over, guided, and preserved, then life itself conspires to confirm that feeling. Doors close on harm before it reaches you. Confusion dissolves into clarity. Even what once appeared as chaos begins to reveal a hidden order that was always present. Your family, too, is not subject to chance or randomness. The bond that unites you is more than shared blood or shared space. It is a shared field of awareness, a shared assumption about what life is and how it behaves. When you hold your family in the inner vision as safe, harmonious, and provided for, you are not merely wishing well for them, you are planting a seed in the deepest soil of reality. This inner act is far more influential than anxious words or frantic efforts. Concern fixes attention on danger, but faith fixes attention on fulfillment. And attention, sustained and feelingly accepted, is creative. Many people attempt to protect their loved ones by worrying, believing that constant fear somehow keeps danger away. In truth, worry only rehearses the very outcomes you wish to avoid. Protection comes from a calm knowing, a settled conviction that what matters most is already secure. When you rest in this knowing, your words soften, your actions align, and your presence itself becomes a shield. Children feel it without explanation. Partners sense it without discussion. Even strained relationships begin to ease. Not because you force change, but because the inner climate from which all interaction flows has shifted. Your future is not a distant line waiting to surprise you. It is forming now, moment by moment, from the assumptions you entertain today. If you look ahead with dread, you are rehearsing struggle. If you look ahead with quiet confidence, you are rehearsing stability and growth. The future does not respond to your plans alone. It responds to your self-concept. Who you believe yourself to be determines what tomorrow can deliver. If you see yourself as watched over, guided, and favored by life, then circumstances will obediently reflect that belief in ways both subtle and profound. There is no need to strain to make this true. Strain only implies doubt. Instead, you are invited to relax into the feeling of being covered. Feel it as you sit in your home, as you speak with your family, as you imagine the days ahead. Feel the ease of knowing that what belongs to you by divine order cannot be taken away. This feeling is not fantasy, it is alignment. And alignment always precedes manifestation. Consider how naturally things work when you assume they will. You breathe without effort because you assume the air will be there. You walk without fear of the ground collapsing beneath you because you assume it will hold. In the same way, you can live without fear of life betraying you when you assume that life supports you. This assumption does not make you careless, it makes you calm. It does not weaken your judgment, it sharpens your intuition. You begin to notice the right choices without anxiety, the right timing without pressure. Your home reflects your inner world more faithfully than you may realize. When your inner conversations are filled with tension and expectation of loss, the home feels restless, unsettled. When your inner conversations are filled with peace and trust, the home feels warm, grounded, and alive. This is not coincidence. The space you occupy responds to the state you occupy within. To bless your home, you need not perform rituals or speak elaborate words. Simply occupy the feeling of safety and belonging, and the atmosphere adjusts accordingly. Your family members, each living in their own awareness, are still influenced by the assumptions you hold about them. When you secretly expect conflict, misunderstanding finds a way to appear. When you quietly expect harmony, cooperation emerges almost effortlessly. This does not mean you control others. It means you set the tone to which life responds. The most loving thing you can do for those you care about is to see them thriving inwardly, even when appearances suggest otherwise. What you hold steady within has a way of becoming visible without force. The future often feels uncertain because people attempt to predict it rather than embody it. Prediction relies on past evidence. Embodiment relies on present assumption. When you embody the feeling of a secure and meaningful future, you no longer ask how it will come or when it will unfold. You live as though it is already arranged, and in doing so, you allow life to reveal its path naturally. Opportunities arise not as miracles, but as obvious next steps that feel almost inevitable. Protection, provision, and continuity are not rewards for moral perfection, they are expressions of alignment. When your inner world is aligned with the idea of wholeness, the outer world organizes itself to match. Even challenges that arise do not feel like threats, they feel like transitions, adjustments guiding you toward a clearer expression of stability. You stop interpreting obstacles as signs of abandonment and start seeing them as evidence of guidance, redirecting you toward what truly serves you. There is a quiet strength that comes from knowing you are covered. It does not announce itself loudly. It does not demand validation. It simply stands firm, unshaken by passing fears or dramatic headlines. This strength allows you to respond instead of react, to choose instead of panic. It allows you to listen more deeply, to speak more gently, and to act more decisively when action is required. Your home becomes a place of restoration rather than escape. Your family becomes a source of mutual reinforcement rather than obligation. Your future becomes an open field of expression rather than a looming question mark. None of this happens by accident. It unfolds as naturally as night follows day when the inner premise is set. You may notice that as you adopt this inner stance, old fears attempt to resurface, reminding you of past losses or disappointments. Do not fight them. Fighting only gives them substance. Instead, observe them and return to the feeling of coverage, as one returns to a familiar place of rest. Each time you do, the new assumption gains strength, and the old one loses its grip. Life has always been responding to you. Even when you believed it was indifferent, it was responding to the meanings you assigned, the expectations you rehearsed, the stories you told yourself in quiet moments. Change the story, and the response must change. Not because life is persuaded, but because life is reflective. It cannot do otherwise. Imagine even now the sense of relief that comes with knowing your household is secure, that your loved ones are guided, that your path forward is supported. Let that relief settle into your body, into your breath, into your posture. This is not imagination as escape. This is imagination as selection. You are selecting the state from which your experiences will flow. As you move through your days carrying this inner knowing, you may find that others respond differently to you. Conversations soften, solutions appear where there were only questions, even silence feels less threatening and more spacious. These are signs not of coincidence, but of coherence. Your inner and outer worlds are beginning to speak the same language. You do not need to convince anyone else of this truth for it to work. Reality does not require consensus, it requires acceptance. The acceptance must be yours, quiet and complete. Once accepted, it expresses itself through ordinary events arranged in extraordinary harmony. What once felt fragile begins to feel rooted. What once felt uncertain begins to feel directed. Your future, seen through this lens, is not a gamble but a continuation. It grows naturally out of who you are being now. If you are being someone who trusts, who rests, who assumes support, then the future has no choice but to mirror that identity. You become less concerned with controlling outcomes and more interested in maintaining inner alignment, knowing that alignment is the true source of security. This is how coverage operates. It is not an external shield descending from the sky. It is an internal stance that shapes every interaction with life. It works silently, persistently, faithfully. And the more you live from it, the more natural it feels, until one day you realize that fear has lost its authority, that uncertainty no longer defines your thoughts, and that your sense of home, family, and future rests on something far deeper than circumstance, something that continues to unfold and expand as you remain in the feeling of being guided, sustained, and quietly assured, even as new moments arise and new paths begin to reveal themselves in ways that feel both unexpected and deeply familiar, as though you have always known they were on their way, and now you are simply walking into them with a steadiness that grows stronger the more you remain aware of this inner ground from which all things emerge and continue to take shape without interruption as the rhythm of this knowing carries forward into the next unfolding moment. And as you continue walking in this awareness, you begin to notice that life no longer feels like something happening to you, but something moving with you. Events align not because you demanded they do, but because you are no longer resisting their natural order. There is a deep difference between effort and assumption. Effort strains toward an outcome. Assumption rests in the certainty that the outcome is already secured. When you live from assumption, you are not passive, you are poised. You are alert without being anxious, engaged without being tense, attentive without being fearful. The sense of being covered brings with it a gentleness that changes how you interpret everything. A delay no longer feels like denial. A closed door no longer feels like punishment. You begin to recognize redirection where you once saw rejection. This shift alone protects your future more than any strategy ever could, because it keeps your inner state intact. And it is your inner state that determines the quality of the paths that open before you. Your home, held in this consciousness, becomes a place where restoration happens naturally. Not because every problem disappears, but because problems lose their power to dominate the atmosphere. Even disagreements soften faster. Even stress releases sooner. The walls seem to hold a quieter energy, as though the space itself has learned how to rest. You may find yourself sleeping more deeply, thinking more clearly, speaking more thoughtfully. These are not small changes. They are evidence that the foundation has shifted. Your family too begins to reflect this steadiness. You may notice that conversations that once escalated now resolve themselves, or that silence no longer feels heavy, but peaceful. Each person senses, on a level deeper than words, that there is room to breathe, room to be, room to grow. This does not mean perfection replaces humanity. It means humanity is held in a wider field of patience and understanding. You stop bracing for the worst and start allowing the best to show itself. What you are truly doing is withdrawing belief from vulnerability and placing it in continuity. You are no longer living as though life is one mistake away from collapse. You are living as though life is resilient, responsive, and intelligent. And because life mirrors belief, it begins to demonstrate its intelligence in your experience. You encounter solutions you did not pell, and help you did not request, timing you could not have orchestrated. The future, once imagined as a series of risks, now feels like a sequence of unfoldings. You are not trying to force clarity. Clarity arrives as you move. Each step reveals the next, not all at once, but always enough. This is how guidance works. It does not overwhelm you with the entire map. It gives you the next point of balance. And because you trust the ground beneath you, you step forward without hesitation. There is a quiet authority that comes from this way of living. You are no longer swayed so easily by the fears of others or the noise of the world. You listen, but you do not absorb panic. You observe, but you do not internalize chaos. This does not make you detached, it makes you centered. And from center, you respond with wisdom rather than impulse. You may find that even your sense of time changes. Urgency loosens its grip. You are still productive, still intentional, but not rushed. You no longer feel that everything must happen now or else be lost forever. You sense that what is meant for you has its own rhythm, and that rhythm includes you. Waiting becomes lighter when it is infused with trust. As this trust deepens, you stop measuring your security by external markers alone. You still value stability, resources, and structure, but they are no longer the source of your peace. Peace comes first, and from it, stability arranges itself. You realize that true coverage is not dependent on perfect circumstances. It operates within imperfect ones and quietly transforms them. You begin to see how often you once abandoned your own inner ground in moments of uncertainty, rushing into worry as though it were responsibility. Now you recognize that responsibility without panic is far more effective. You attend to what needs attention, but you do so from steadiness rather than fear. And see your actions arise from clarity. They carry greater impact with less effort. Your inner conversations change, and with them, your outer experiences. You speak to yourself less harshly. You no longer rehearse worst-case scenarios as though they were preparation. Instead, you allow yourself to expect coherence. This expectation is not naive, it is rooted in experience. Each time life confirms your inner assumption, confidence deepens. Each time something works out in an unexpected way, trust expands. Your home becomes a place where you return to yourself, not a place where you escape from the world. Your family becomes a reminder of connection, not a source of obligation or fear. Your future becomes something you lean into rather than brace against. This is the natural result of living from the premise that you are covered. Even when uncertainty appears, it does not shake you as it once did. You acknowledge it, but you do not identify with it. You understand that uncertainty is simply the space before form, not a sign of danger. In that space, possibilities gather, and because you remain anchored, you allow the most aligned possibilities to take shape. There is a softness that grows alongside this strength. You become more compassionate, not only toward others, but toward yourself. You stop demanding instant perfection. You allow growth to be organic. You understand that being covered does not mean never being challenged. It means never being abandoned by wisdom. Even in challenge, you notice that your intuition speaks more clearly when fear is no longer shouting over it. Decisions feel simpler, not always easier, but clearer. You sense when to act and when to wait. You sense when to speak and when silence will do more. This sensitivity is not weakness, it is attunement. As you live in this state, you may look back at earlier versions of yourself and feel gratitude, not regret, but appreciation for how each stage led you here. You see that even what once felt like loss carried information, shaping your capacity to trust more deeply now. You are no longer defined by what happened. You are defined by how you have learned to stand within yourself. The sense of being covered extends beyond immediate concerns. It reaches into your sense of purpose, your sense of belonging in the world. You no longer feel like an outsider to your own life. You feel included, as though life has made room for you rather than testing your worthiness. This feeling alone alters how you show up in every space you enter. Your presence changes. People may not be able to name it, but they feel it. They feel the absence of urgency, the absence of defensiveness. They feel that you are not trying to take from them or prove something to them. This creates ease, and ease is fertile ground for cooperation, understanding, and mutual respect. You stop over-explaining your choices. You stop justifying your rest. You stop apologizing for your peace. You understand that inner stability does not need permission. It is self-validating, and the more you honor it, the more it expands. Your future continues to unfold, not as a fixed script, but as a responsive dance between intention and openness. You hold direction without rigidity. You hold vision without pressure. You trust that what aligns with your inner state will find you, and what does not will fall away without struggle. This way of living does not remove you from the world. It allows you to participate more fully. You are present without being consumed. You care without being depleted. You engage without losing yourself. This balance is not achieved through discipline alone, but through alignment with a deeper sense of order. You realize that coverage is not something that turns on and off. It is constant. What fluctuates is awareness, and each time you return to awareness, you return to stability. There is comfort in knowing that you can always come back to this inner ground, regardless of what is happening around you. The rhythm of your days begins to feel more natural. You wake with less resistance. You move with less friction. You rest without guilt. This rhythm supports your body as much as your mind. Tension releases from places you did not know were holding it. Breath deepens, shoulders soften. Even your posture changes, reflecting the inner assurance you carry. As this assurance becomes familiar, you no longer feel the need to announce it. You live it quietly, and in that quiet living, life responds with subtle confirmations that reinforce your trust. A timely message, an unexpected solution, a moment of peace where there used to be worry. These moments accumulate, building a lived understanding that you are not navigating life alone. Your home continues to hold you. Your family continues to grow with you. Your future continues to open before you. Not because everything is predictable, but because everything is held within a larger coherence that you are learning to recognize and trust more deeply with each passing experience. As this awareness settles further into your being and carries you forward into the ongoing movement of life, where each new moment offers another opportunity to remain grounded in this inner certainty and allow it to shape what comes next without interruption or finality. And from that inner knowing, movement continues without strain. You do not rush to define what comes next, because you have learned that definition emerges naturally when the state is set. You live now from a quiet expectancy, not the kind that waits anxiously at the door of tomorrow, but the kind that knows tomorrow will arrive bearing the imprint of what you have already accepted within yourself. This expectancy is calm, steady, and patient, like a river that knows its direction without needing to argue with the landscape. You begin to notice how often life responds before you even speak. Needs are met in ways that feel ordinary yet precise. You find yourself in the right place at the right moment more often than coincidence can explain. What once required force now flows with cooperation. This is not because the world has suddenly become kinder, but because you are no longer meeting it with resistance. When resistance dissolves, pathways appear. Your inner language continues to refine itself. You no longer describe your life as fragile or uncertain, even in moments when outcomes are still forming. You speak of process rather than problem, movement rather than blockage. These are not affirmations repeated with effort. They are natural expressions of how you now see reality. Words follow perception, and perception follows assumption. You become more selective about what you entertain inwardly, not out of fear, but out of respect for your own state. You understand now that every repeated thought is an invitation, every sustained feeling a direction given. So you choose deliberately, gently redirecting your attention when it drifts toward old patterns of worry. You do not scold yourself for drifting. You simply return, again and again, to the sense of being held. This return becomes easier with practice. What once felt like effort now feels like memory. It is as though your system remembers something ancient and reliable, something it had forgotten in the noise of survival and urgency. Rest no longer feels undeserved. Peace no longer feels temporary. You allow yourself to settle without guilt, knowing that clarity arises most naturally from stillness. Your interactions reflect this shift. You listen more fully without planning your response. You speak with less defensiveness because you no longer feel the need to protect an image or position. Even disagreement takes on a different tone. It becomes an exchange rather than a threat. This changes the quality of your relationships, not through control, but through presence. You notice how your sense of identity loosens its grip on old definitions. You are no longer confined to who you had to be in order to survive. You allow yourself to expand beyond roles shaped by fear or expectation. This expansion does not destabilize you. It grounds you more deeply, because it aligns you with what feels true rather than what feels required. Your sense of direction becomes internal rather than imposed. You are guided less by comparison and more by resonance. You trust what feels aligned, even when it cannot yet be justified logically. This trust does not lead you astray, it leads you into coherence. The more you honor it, the clearer it becomes. You stop interpreting pauses as failures. You understand that stillness is not absence of movement, but preparation for it. In these pauses, insight gathers. In these quiet spaces, your next step clarifies itself. You no longer force motion to avoid discomfort. You allow timing to mature. The feeling of being covered continues to express itself in small, consistent ways. You feel less reactive to external pressures. News, opinions, and shifting circumstances no longer dictate your inner climate. You stay informed without being overwhelmed. You stay engaged without being consumed. This balance preserves your energy and sharpens your focus. Your body responds as well. You notice how tension releases more quickly, how fatigue does not linger as long, how your breath becomes a steady companion rather than a shallow reflex. These changes reinforce your trust, reminding you that alignment is not abstract. It is lived and felt. You grow more comfortable with uncertainty, not because you enjoy it, but because you no longer equate it with danger. You see uncertainty as a doorway rather than a wall. You step through it with curiosity instead of dread, knowing that clarity is not lost, only forming. As days pass, you realize that what once felt like protection now feels like participation. You are not being shielded from life, you are being supported within it. Challenges still arise, but they arrive differently. They come as invitations to refine your state rather than threats to your stability. You meet them with inquiry instead of resistance. Your sense of future continues to evolve. You no longer imagine it as a single destination that must be reached correctly. You see it as a living extension of your present awareness. Each moment becomes meaningful, not because it guarantees an outcome, but because it carries the quality of your being forward. You allow joy to appear without suspicion. You let good moments stand without immediately wondering how long they will last. This simple allowance changes everything. Joy deepens when it is trusted. Peace stabilizes when it is welcomed fully. You become aware that this way of living does not separate from others. It connects you more authentically. You offer stability without preaching it. You model calm without demanding it. And in doing so, you create space for others to access their own sense of ground. The rhythm continues, unforced and uninterrupted. You move through your days with a sense of quiet companionship, as though life itself is walking alongside you rather than watching from a distance. This companionship does not require constant acknowledgement, it simply is. And so the unfolding carries on, moment by moment, shaped by the state you return to again and again, sustained by the inner certainty that does not waver with circumstance, allowing what is next to reveal itself naturally as you remain present, receptive, and rooted in this ongoing awareness that continues to deepen, expand, and express itself through everything that follows. And so you stand here not at an ending but at a deeper beginning, knowing now that coverage has never been absent, only unrecognized. You understand that your home is held by the state you dwell in, your family is shaped by the love you consistently assume, and your future is secured by the identity you quietly accept as true. There is nothing left to chase and nothing left to fear, because what sustains you is not outside of you, and never has been. As you continue forward, you do so with a settled heart and a steady mind, allowing life to reveal itself in orderly, meaningful ways. Trusting that each step arises from the same unseen foundation that has always carried you, guided you, and will continue to do so, as long as you remain faithful to this inner knowing.